Hi, my name's Steve. Welcome aboard my narrowboat home, Moorland Rose. Please join me as I take a slow boat through Britain. I moored overnight at the western end of Standedge Tunnel, near the village of Diggle. And yes, the locals pronounce it Stanage. Well, here I am at the Diggle end of Standedge Tunnel, ready to go through. I'm just waiting for a pilot. Unfortunately, because of COVID, I can't take the boat through myself, and I've got to have a pilot, apparently a guy called Howard. I'm expecting to see him very shortly. I was to meet him here at 9:30, and it's about 25 past now, so it's going to be up to him to take it through. Entry into Standedge Tunnel is strictly controlled by CRT, and these artistic gates are padlocked out of hours. The gates were designed by local artist Joy Williams and built by Security Guard Shutters Limited and metal fabricators William Rigby Limited.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Steve. I take it you're not Howard.
No. I've got this badge.
Moorland Rose is checked for dimensions and safety, then the gates are unlocked and our 2-hour journey into the darkness begins. This section of the tunnel was extended in 1893 by 242 yards to accommodate the 1894 railway tunnel. In places, the tunnel walls and ceiling are unlined, and the hewn rock faces make it seem like a set from Lord of the Rings. With no towpath, professional leggers were employed at both ends of the tunnel. These men lay on boards across the width of the boat and walked along the walls of the tunnel, the rough-hewn rock walls in places causing major problems for the leggers gaining a foothold. These leggers could take a fully laden 30-ton boat through in about 3 hours and were paid 1 shilling and sixpence, about £5.50 in today's money. That's less than £2 an hour. They only got a shilling if the boat was unladen. When the tunnel was restored in 2001, modern concrete was used in many places to stabilise the rock walls. There are actually 4 tunnels at Standedge: the Canal Tunnel and 3 later railway tunnels. There are interlinking connections between the tunnels, originally for the railway companies to use the canal to remove the spoil as they dug their own tunnels. Today, an unused rail tunnel and these connections are used by CRT to send a safety crew to monitor the passage of boats. Here, the support team travelling through the adjacent disused railway tunnel shine a light through one of the connecting passages to let us know they are there. shout to them from Howard at the back confirms that all is well. To keep costs down, the idea of a towpath was removed, and the waterway was only wide enough for one boat, but ingeniously they allowed for passing places within the tunnel. This, however, caused problems in itself, and numerous fights broke out as boat crews refused to give way to each other. The tunnel was intended to take 5 years to complete. However, the construction was beset by many problems, many of these being due to poor organisation. The excavation of the tunnel began at both ends, but after a while it was realised that the Diggle end was being constructed several feet higher than the Marsden end. In correcting this, previous work was undermined, causing several collapses. There was also a persistent problem of large quantities of water seeping into the workings, and in 1 year only 150 yards of tunnel was excavated. The whole idea for the canal was almost abandoned. The original engineer Benjamin Outram resigned in frustration, and the famous Thomas Telford was approached for guidance. Telford discovered that the two ends of the tunnel were not in alignment and had to adjust the line, so that the canal now has a noticeable bend. Once through one of the 4 passing places, the waterway narrows again, and the occasional bump is inevitable, even with an experienced helmsman like Howard. The tunnel was closed to traffic in 1944 and fell into disrepair. Initially in 2001, when the Huddersfield Canal Society restored the tunnel, an electric tug was used to pull boats through to combat diesel fumes. However, since 2009, boats have been allowed through under their own power, but with an experienced chaperone on each boat. Due to COVID this year, as mentioned before, an experienced pilot, in my case Howard, takes the boat through whilst the crew remain socially distanced inside. In places, the walls just seem to absorb the light from our lamps. Is that the exit I can see as a point of light in the distance? It's a piece of roof lining brought down by the water seeping into the tunnel. This time I'm fairly sure that's the exit. I find it amazing in tunnels how 1 minute you can clearly see the exit and then the next it disappears behind a slight bend. Eventually, after 17 years of wrangling, the tunnel was finally opened in 1811, linking the two halves of the Huddersfield Narrow Canal. The canal and tunnel were expected to cost about £178,000 when the Act of Parliament was passed in 1793. However, when finished, the tunnel alone cost £160,000. That's nearly £13 million in today's money. When measured after the restoration with modern equipment, the tunnel is accepted as being 5,675 yards long, making it the longest canal tunnel in Britain. As we approach this end of the tunnel, we can see where it was extended by 18 yards in 1822. This was to allow the overflow from the feeder reservoir to be diverted over the tunnel entrance. The first boat through the completed tunnel, Lively Lady, emerged to the sound of church bells and a band playing Rule Britannia. As the first boat this year, I get the team that saw me safely through. Many thanks for all your help. Once past the tunnel trip boats, I can look for somewhere to moor before starting down the locks towards Huddersfield tomorrow. I hope you have enjoyed this journey into the depths of Standedge Tunnel. A little different from my normal cruising video, not much in the way of scenery, and restrictions imposed to combat the COVID-19 pandemic meant that filming was difficult. But I wanted to record the journey through the UK's longest, highest and deepest underground canal tunnel. Give me a thumbs up and ask any questions below. Subscribe if you haven't already done so, and hit the bell icon so that YouTube can let you know when I start descending to Huddersfield. Bye for now, and please join me for the next part of my adventure.